So not too long ago, I was invited very courteously by Square Enix to come to an event in which we were able to play some of Forspoken in the early stages of the game so that we could then take some recorded footage, all of which you're seeing right now on this video, and formulate some thoughts and impressions on what we've played. And here I am today to share those thoughts with you. So welcome back to my channel, everybody. My name is Joesephyr. Thank you very much for joining me, beautiful. How are you doing today? And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Forspoken and the 3 chapters that I got to play, and what I thought of the gameplay, what I thought of the characters and the story, the setting, the visuals, all of that good stuff. So if that's something that you're interested in, then stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we get started, of course, don't forget to check out all of my social media links down in the description box below, including Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Patreon. Come and join the Discord if you want to talk about Forspoken, Final Fantasy, or a slew of other games that we all like to talk about over on there. And you can catch me playing all of those games and way more over on Twitch, and you can be certain that I will be playing Forspoken when it releases in January. Over on Patreon, I do always shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video, and today that person is going to be Gail, who is a dear friend, and a massive thank you goes out to you, not just for just mentoring me in the wild world that is Smash Bros and helping me to get better at that game, but just for being supportive generally as well. And therefore, if you would like a title card just like Gail has here, or all of the other benefits that come with being a patron, and there are some changes being made to that over in the new year, but there's still loads of benefits there, including private streams, private chats that we will do, and the title cards that are made by me for you to go at the end of all of my videos. Then perhaps you'd like to consider looking at that in the description box below too. So before we go into any impressions, allow me to take you through what I've actually played of Forspoken so far. So once again, a massive thank you to Square Enix for giving me the opportunity to partake in this event and share my thoughts with not only you guys over on YouTube, but also lots of other lovely streamers that happen to be there. And we got to talking, and we've been spending a lot of time at events recently, and it's been lovely to see them all once again. So at the event, we were able to play through chapters 2, 3, and 5. So I'm not going to go into huge detail for story or spoilers or anything like that, but chapter 2 was very much kind of like a tutorial mission where you were just kind of getting to grips with Frey's ability, so Frey being the main character of the game, the cuff that comes with her, and that's where her magical abilities come from, and just kind of getting to grips with the world and culminating in a boss battle at the end. And then chapter 3 was more story heavy, where there was a lot more sort of dialogue, a lot more sort of following characters and sort of speaking to various citizens of the world of Athia and getting to grips with how things go, and you end up with the iconic look at the end of that chapter and another boss fight at the end of that. And then chapter 5 was a much more action-driven chapter with a proper boss fight at the end with one of the Tantas, one of the characters who are the antagonists of Forspoken. So chapter 2 I got to grips with very quickly, although I did notice very quickly in this game that Frey likes to swear a lot.
Shit, oh, no.
Now, this is not something that bothers me as a player, but I know that it's something that a lot of players will take issue with. It's not something that people necessarily want or need to hear a lot of, and it is something that is present a lot. So expect a lot of F-bombs, a lot of S-bombs, a lot of that kind of thing when it comes to Forspoken. But that being said, I did really enjoy the sort of camaraderie between Frey and the Cuff as well, and how they sort of bantered with each other. There's a lot of sort of pop culture references that come up while they're talking, and I really enjoyed that. And I got to grips with the controls very quickly, and as soon as you unlock the flow abilities, which is your magic parkour and sort of your ability to run and dash at like great speeds, which you may have seen in previous trailers for Forspoken, that felt wonderful. Did catch once or twice, like hiccup once or twice whilst trying to climb up walls, as you can see in the footage here. But beyond that, it just felt really good, and combat itself didn't take much to get to grips with. Now, the spells that we had access to in what we've played have just purely consist of earth abilities, but I know that as the game progresses, you get hold of other elements as well, so that's something to keep in mind. Chapter 2 also culminated in a boss fight, as I said earlier, which was with the dragon. Now, the dragon itself was really sort of imposing and really cool, and the visuals of this game are really quite something. Like, they definitely take advantage of the PS5's capabilities, using the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback really nicely. That was definitely something I took note of. And the only criticism I have when it came to the dragon is it felt like a lot of what I was doing didn't seem to chip away at its health all that much. Like, it felt like I was doing something wrong, maybe, because I was just not hurting this thing very much. And I ended up actually asking a couple of my friends that I was at the event with and saying, like, have you, like, actually, like, put a dent in this thing yet? And it was a case of, it just had a lot of health. But the fact that it had quite that much health did make the dragon fight kind of last a little bit longer than I would have liked it to. It did outstay its welcome very slightly. But I did enjoy the actual mechanics of the fight, the way you dodge attacks. It just flows really, really nicely. So I was really pleased to see that. Now, the third chapter, like I said, much more story driven to begin with. You get a lot more dialogue, a lot more kind of being put into the world of Athia and being told about everything that's going on with it, who the Tantas are, why they are the way that they are, that kind of thing, and the sorts of enemies that you're facing and where they come from. And you also getting accompanied by a stealth section. Now, I groan every time I see a stealth section in a video game, but luckily this one was more kind of, you know, it was there as dressing more than anything else. You're literally just following a character. It's not nearly as much of a stealth section as I thought it was going to be. And seeing the dialogue and the banter and very much that girl out of time kind of trope, Back to the Future style, was quite fun for me. And some of the characters, such as Olivia, who's a young girl who's like a street urchin, really, really adorable character. But then after all of that's done and you get hold of the iconic look that you see in all the posters and everything, and the fact that she insists on still wearing those shoes and like not feeling the shoes, to be honest, like she could have upgraded those to like a boot or something, but no, she insisted on the trainers. So we're going out and we're running around, and that gives you a little bit of time for exploration, and you're able to then go into sort of like finding just enemies to grind a bit of XP from, or you can just let loose with the flow abilities. Really enjoyed that, and being able to sort of, I think this was obviously by design, but spotting a optional dungeon off in the distance, which I then went and did, and that was really enjoyable as well. The actual sort of like moment-to-moment gameplay of Forspoken is very enjoyable. And bear in mind as well that the moveset that we had access to at the time was quite limited, and knowing full well that that moveset is expanded upon quite largely as you progress is very exciting. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the end of Chapter 3, because I think that that's something that I feel that players should experience for themselves. But we then moved over Chapter 4. We didn't get to play Chapter 4. We then moved straight into Chapter 5, where things had taken a turn, and the land has been sort of like turned to ash by Tanta Sila, who is the character in question, or the villain in question, and we would then go and explore and find our way up to Tanta Sila's throne room, where we would ultimately fight her. So the fights here were a little harder, and but by and large I didn't find it to be too much of an issue to get through each of the fights. And something that we were told sort of as we were going in is that the boss fight's really hard. Like, and for those of you who follow my channel for a while, I love a good boss fight. I love a challenge. I love a boss fight that's absolutely gonna rip you to shreds. So we got through all of that, and we got through all of the bits beforehand, fighting a lot of enemies. Some of them were newer ones as well that we hadn't seen previously. There was quite a nice diversification in the kinds of enemies that we had to fight. So some would have shields in front of them, so you couldn't just spam spells at them. You'd have to like acrobatically go behind them in some way or another and then hit them. Or you could use some of the other spells that you'd gained in order to do that. And it felt really good. Like, you're always gaining new abilities, new spells, stuff like that. And the control system works really nicely for Forspoken. And you also unlock the ability to do side missions like hitting an enemy with like a certain attack type X number of times, and then you can then upgrade that shot type, and that was really fun as well, just to be able to kind of always have something going on while you're playing it. And then after a little bit more story had progressed, we'd then go into the fight with Tanta Sila. And I'll be honest, I thought it was a bit easy, but I am very, very well versed with games like this. I love my Devil May Cries, I love my Bayonettas, I love my Soulsborne games, I love any challenging action RPG, so it's something that I am very well accustomed to. So I didn't find it particularly difficult at the time of when I was put into that particular situation. And after I'd beaten Silas, which was still a really fun boss fight, it definitely didn't have the same problem as the dragon, where like it outstayed its welcome or anything like that. It was just the right length. There were just enough phases. There were just enough different attack types that came out of the villain that I enjoyed it thoroughly throughout. And then after that point, I did then cheekily ask. I was like, "Is there a harder difficulty setting that I can try this on?" So I was told, yes, we can turn that up. So it was like cranked up to the hardest difficulty, damage modifiers, all the shebang. And then she one-shot me. So maybe I was being a bit cocky. Maybe it was just a little bit of like, hey, yeah, I've got this. I could do this. Yeah, I didn't have it on the hardest difficulty. So no, she absolutely trounced me. So absolutely, if you want a challenge, that challenge is present if you're looking for that kind of thing. And there were different variables that you could do with the difficulty settings. So there's definitely challenge there if that's what you're looking for. If you want an easier time, you can also go easier. But on the medium setting, as somebody who's very seasoned with action RPGs and plays a lot of them, I think that I would personally play this on a harder difficulty setting from the get-go. So with all that being said, that's now taken you through my entire experience with Forspoken and what I've played of it and what I've been able to sort of share and extrapolate from the information that we were given, as well as playing the game and having so much hands-on time with it myself. We got to play it, I'd say, maybe 3 or 4 hours. All of the footage that you see has been recorded by myself during this event, and it was a really lovely event as well. Like I said, we got to sort of like connect with other content creators, and it's always lovely to reconnect with some really wonderful people, some of which I hope to see more of in the future, all of which I hope to see more of in the future, some of which I know it's more possible than for others. But what do I think of the game, being honest? Like, did I enjoy Forspoken? Would I buy it? Would I buy it at full price? And honestly, yeah, I would. Like, I had a really good time with Forspoken. I really enjoyed Frey as a character. I do think that she was a little bit potty-mouthed. You know, even for me, like, you're talking to somebody that really liked DMC Devil May Cry, so a potty mouth doesn't bother me. But she does like to swear a heck of a lot, and I know that that's something that will bother a lot of people, and I can understand why. I did enjoy her banter with Cuff, and I really enjoyed the character of Cuff to begin with, and I quite enjoyed just the moment-to-moment gameplay of it all. I thought it was stunning to look at. The combat flowed really nicely. The movement flowed really nicely, and while I did hit the occasional hiccup trying to get over a wall or something, I never felt like I was out of control of the situation. The camera largely played nicely. I did actually actively try to push the camera so that I could, see if it was something that was going to bother me in the future, and as I kind of eased into the game, at no point did it ever really bother me. Like, every action RPG has a couple of hiccups when it comes to its camera work, and this one is no different. But for the, 99% of the time, it certainly wasn't something I noticed for the negative part. The enemy variety was nice. I particularly enjoyed kind of the flaming angels, like that kind of. The enemy design was really, really good. I really enjoyed Silas herself. I thought that the fight was really good with her. The dragon fight, I think, could have had just a little bit less health, or maybe I could have gone out and grinded a few more enemies, but I don't think there was anything that I could have done to have strengthened Frey further to make that boss fight feel a little bit less bloated. But that's just a case of it being an early boss fight, and it, Forspoken wanting you to put into use all of the things that you've learned up until that point. In terms of Chapter 3, the open world is gorgeous. There's no two ways about it. Movement looks wonderful. There's a lot to interact with. So you've got your Devil May Cry, your Bayonetta, that kind of thing that you can compare to in terms of the moment-to-moment combat. But it is far more open than that in terms of what's available to go and look for things. So there's lots of little side missions that you can find, and I didn't spend too much time with those based on the fact that I had a very limited amount of time to play the game, but there was plenty for me to go off the beaten path if I wanted to, and I know that one of the chapters that I didn't get to play is a much more open experience, so you can go looking for stuff that way. And then Chapter 5, I really enjoyed the boss fight. Like I said, my favourite thing in any kind of action game, RPG, platformer, or otherwise, I love a good boss fight, and Silas provided me with that. So much so that I look forward very much to seeing how other boss fights after that point in the game progressed and seeing how Frey's abilities progress. The menuing felt very smooth. It was really just, it was a joy to play. And yes, I absolutely would purchase this on release, like at full price, and I think it was very much worth the time and the money. So that's everything that I have for you guys on Forspoken over. I played on the PS5. Let me know what you guys think of this video. Are you planning on buying Forspoken when it releases in January? A big thank you once again to Square Enix for inviting me to this event, and a big thank you to all of the other content creators that I spent a lovely amount of time with. Big shout outs go out to Maria Padawan, Chocolate Kieran, and Lauren from Final Fantasy Union, Miss Bubbles. We had a really, really good time. Geeky Cassie as well. There's so many people that I can name as, you know, there was always such wonderful faces that I get to see at these events, and it was lovely to see you again there. And just thank you all very much for watching, and I hope that you've gained a little bit of insight into Forspoken from this video. Let me know if it's something that you're interested in or not, or if you'd like to see more videos just like this one on this channel. So thank you very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that rubbish that YouTubers tell you to do with their channel, and I shall look forward to seeing you in the next one. Beautiful. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Take care.